Welcome back to the channel. I know I said I hated this game mode, and I still kind of do. It's definitely not my favorite, and it's not what I think the game needed, but I'm an extremely competitive person, and there was no way I was not going to play this game mode. And so I pretty much gave up a night's worth of sleep to just study the meta as much as I could. I went and watched a million YouTube videos. I watched streams in English and Japanese, whatever I could find. I scoured Reddit. I did everything I could to try to figure out what the meta was going to be. I played so many games. I must have played like 30 or 40 games at night, just with different teams trying to figure out what I could do to win. And I think I found a disgusting strategy that I am dubbing the Duo Dagr Highway. So essentially I think everybody, when they saw Duo Dagr, they kind of had the same idea. Like, you make a highway of units and then you can just run straight down it and destroy things. But the first map was very not friendly towards it because of the giant amount of blocks in the center and the double trenches on the sides, right? But with this map, it's possible. And so I decided I was going to try it out, and it works really, really well. It's really gross, to be honest. And I've been talking to Joel from Fehology about it. We talked about it for I think it's been about 2 days now, discussing different elements of it, how to deal with certain threats, and this is what I've come together with. Joel has his own version of it, and I think he'll probably show it off in a video or something like that. And his, I think, is stronger than my version. But let's show what the strategy can do. So first we'll show 2 examples of the strategy and how it works. Then I'll go through my team and how I built it. Then we'll go through what you can do to substitute for units that you don't have. Obviously, the only unit who cannot be substituted is Duo Dagr herself. She has to be on the team for the strategy to work. Everybody else you can find substitutes for. And I honestly think there are some better units than what I have on my team for this strategy. Either way, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so the first thing is you set up your units, and then the idea is that you are going to make a line of units and then activate Duo Dagr's ability, so then you can drastically extend their range via Pathfinder. So as you can see here, I'm just pulling her up, then I'm going to dance this up in our Congo line unit, enabling Duo Dagr as well with their full buffs so she can get max power. Then we activate the Duo skill, and at this point our range is extended, and voila, look how far we can move Hector via Pathfinder. Now we have our save ball, or our far saver, protecting us, and then now we can move in, and look at that disgusting range. Just comes in, destroys Corrin, backs up, it's completely safe. Hector is going to take that hit for which is completely fine. That's why he's there. And then we just end turn because we went first and we ended turn before he got the chance to end turn. We will get the chance to go first, and we can just take out Dagr and back up. And now they really don't have much left they can do here. So they're going to bring over Grima, see if they can fight with Grima. Then I can just dance him up and then back up Azura thanks to the Trace skill. And then is going to get full power to fight Grima, and he does have that dragon effectiveness, so her chances of winning is pretty much 0. And that kind of goes the same for Brave Edelgard, who really wants to enemy phase and not player phase. And there we go, our first win. So for this next example, we're going to show the power of Duo Dagr Highway by just pushing the enemy out of the capture zone, right? By doing this, we get 2 points immediately, and we can just win based off that a lot of the times. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our highway, and then once we have our highway set up, we can have the range increase so much and threaten so much of their enemy team that they aren't really able to get enough units into the capture block that we get 2 points. So you can see right here, at this point, they have to retreat. They pull Fjorm out because they immediately notice that is going to be able to extend all the way over there and kill their Fjorm. So they have to pull her out. So they have all their units outside of the block, and because of that, they have no pressure on my team at all. I can set up however I want, and then I can choose how to engage. And I also have 2-point advantage, so I don't even need to engage. It's my game to lose, really, and all I need to do is make sure that I don't pretty much throw the game, which is insanely powerful to be able to do without actually having to kill anything, right? Just being able to threaten the enemy team so much, they can't step into the block. Shows you how powerful this team can really be without actually having to win any combats. And then you can see here, they pretty much figure out they have to move, right? They have to make some kind of play, because if they don't make some kind of play, I just win by default because I have a 2-point advantage. So they aggressively move their here, trying to threaten Atri in some way, but because I went first, I can just get the first turn and win. Okay, now that we've seen some examples of the team in action, let's go over each member of my team and what role they play. So let's start with the captain, Atri. And so what makes Atri so good is that obviously she is just a ridiculously powerful mage, but she has Canto. And so Canto lets you go in and really just snipe an enemy and then back up back into your far safe tank and be protected. And so it makes Atri just extremely powerful. She's also extremely bulky. So like this Atri right here, looks like she only has 35 defense, but the truth is she has way more hidden. So she has 41 there, and then she gets another 10 from sturdy impact on engagement. That's 41. And then she gets another 4 here, so that's 45. Another 4 here, 49. So she's extremely bulky actually, and she can go in and kind of even...
These are the heroes.
Okay, now she's talking. So you can even go in and like hit units and then back up sometimes. What that can do is cripple the enemy far safe tank enough where you can then finish them off, or you can make them pull back out of the range so that you can take control of the center. The second part of the team is Brave Hector here. He is extremely good, obviously. He's plus 10, fully max merge, full power Hector. But I actually don't think he's the best far safe tank for this game mode, actually. And the reason for that is very simple. Everyone's using him. So everyone's building counters. So you're going to see Atris, you're going to see Duo Daggers, you're going to see all kinds of units who can deal with Hector. And he also does not have any type of null C. So he can be killed that way as well. Though usually this build will allow you to at least take one hit, but if you can take one hit, a lot of times you can go in and counter and kill them. So it still works pretty well. We'll go over some substitutes for him later. Next we have Brave Alm, and Brave Alm is just absolutely insane. He has so many things going for him, and the main role of Brave Alm here is he is to just there to destroy enemy units that are annoying. So he has the wind sweep or the fire sweep effect in his weapon, which allows him to deal with the vantage units you might run into. It allows him to deal with a lot of the most powerful frontline units because they can't counterattack a lot of times, and he has enough damage just to cut right through them. He kind of deals with Fallen Edelgard. Some of the most powerful Fallen Edelgards he can struggle with because they stat stack so high, but he can definitely get through. I'm thinking of running Ruptured Sky there just to deal with Fallen Edelgard even better, but I haven't tried it quite yet. Close Call is there so that he can get in, kill a unit, and back up. A lot of times if you set this up correctly, he can kill a unit, back up right into Hector's save range, and protect himself. Very, very powerful. Some other options for Alm is also to run Panic Smoke here. I'm thinking about doing that. And what that can do is just cripple the enemy team if they are running or if they are relying on buffs. Time's Pulse is very good against units who don't have any type of guard built in, but if they do have a guard, then it's kind of like, it doesn't do anything essentially. So it can be useless sometimes. Next, we have Duo Dagr. This is the most important unit on the team. You cannot run this team without Duo Dagr. Her duo skill is absolutely ridiculous and just allows this whole strategy to work. She's also a very good unit, but I will say that because mine's at +0 at least, a lot of times she does not secure kills you really want her to be able to secure. And that's why I kind of need Atri on the team to kill those things that, those like powerful blue units that Duo Dagr can't kill. But if she is buffed up, so like on that first turn where you use her duo skill and she gets all full buffs, she's very powerful. And if you use right here our new duo dancer Azura, she can also enable Dagger to be much more powerful because she buffs all of her stats. Legendary Azura can also do this, but what I like about duo Azura is that she is a cav unit obviously, so she has that extra movement. So duo Azura is pretty ridiculous. She has that extremely powerful +6 to all stats, just allowing your team to get super bulky and super powerful and just completely destroy things. There is some disadvantages though, obviously, like the trees on the map and the trenches on the map can keep her from getting into positions you really want her to be able to go to. And also because mine is not very heavily invested, her HP is really, really low. And so the problem with that is that you really want your dancer to offer more support than mine is currently. So right now mine's offering like Drive Attack 2, which is like meh, not that great, and then Chill Attack, which I think is very important. It cripples like those super offensive units on their team who are going to go in and try to nuke your Far Saver. So like Yuri AoE gets crippled by Chill Attack. Pretty much any AoE unit is going to get crippled by Chill Attack. And so it's very, very good. But ideally, I haven't tried this yet, but what I want to do is you want to stack HP. So I'm thinking like maybe you do HP 5 here, HP 5 in the seal, then you do Summoner support, and that will give her like 52 HP, which is like almost good enough, or you could run a Panic in the B slot, and Sudden Panic will cripple a lot of enemy teams and really deal with a lot of things. The other thing you can run there is Pulse Tie, and then you can deal with a lot of the specials that are pre-charged on the enemy team, something you're definitely going to want to have to deal with because that is pretty much the premier strategy being used right now. So that is a great way. And then if you look at Duo Dagr's build, you might have actually thought, like, why are you running Quick Impulse Moonbow? That's kind of weird. And the reason for that is because you need to protect your own specials. And so while not many units are going to be able to Pulse Tie a 63 HP Hector, you need to make sure that there is no chance of it happening. And so Duo Dagr having a pre-charged special allows her to get hit by that Pulse Tie and protect Hector from losing his. It's very, very good. Very important to protect your specials, or you could just literally lose on turn 1 due to a Pulse Tie. So it's definitely something to think about. Another option with Alm too, other than Panic Smoke, is Pulse Smoke. You can put Pulse Smoke there, and then sometimes he can just cripple the enemy team, not only by destroying a unit, but also turning off all their specials. So that's also an option you can think of. Okay, let's go over some other options you have for the team. Now, I don't have all these units built exactly correctly because obviously it takes a lot of fodder to make these units optimal for Summoner's Duel Ranked. And so I'll go through them, but just not all the builds are exactly correct. I'll try to show examples of some of the correct builds on the left side, but not for all of them. Okay, let's start with Hatari Carla. Hatari Carla is absolutely insane. She is such a powerful unit, and she is the unit that the top tier players are using instead of Alm. And the reason for that is because her weapon is busted. She can just push out an extreme amount of damage. So here's an example of how Hatari Carla can really just destroy the enemy team. So now you can see that our Duo Dagr Highway is set up, and Carla is now ready to engage the team. And this team is pretty much built to counter this kind of strategy, right? They have Ascended Fjorm, who is green and bulky. They have Gatekeeper, who is extremely bulky, but it's not going to be enough to stop Carla. Carla is just going to blow them up. And you can see that on her build, she's actually running the less powerful AoE. She's running Growing Wind instead of Blazing Wind. And the reason for that is you essentially want a better AoE pattern that is going to be able to hit everyone. And sometimes when you're using the more powerful AoEs, it's difficult to hit the unit you need to hit if they position correctly. But because Carla puts out so much damage, you don't even need the more powerful AoE a lot of the times. Though against certain units like Fallen Elgar when she's completely buffed, sometimes you can miss those skills. And so you might want to use more powerful AoE for that example. But you can see right here that Gatekeeper just gets completely exploded, 61 damage from the AoE, only 7 damage afterwards, which she just does almost all the damage from the AoE. But she also crippled the entire back team. And so now the enemy team doesn't really have much of an option of what to do. This team actually has Flame, so they could heal. But even then, their team is going to have to spend turns healing, which means that you have a chance to just go in and destroy some people. Another option is Dimitri. Fallen Dimitri is extremely powerful. He does have the movement if you want to use Odd Tempest. Then the only problem with that is then you don't have Times Pulse to get off a bigger special, right? So with some support, you can technically run an AoE special with him if you want to. And he does have that Canto, which is very, very important because it'll let him back up. Or you can run one of those inheritable Brave Lance weapons, like the one with true damage on, and get the quads in sometimes and kill there. So that is an option for Dimitri. What I've found is that Dimitri often can miss some kills. And also he doesn't have the true power like Carla and Alm does. But he definitely is an option. You can definitely make him work, especially if you have a more invested one. Next, we have Brave Erica, and obviously she is not missing any power. Brave Erica is insane. She can just put out an extreme amount of damage. The problem with Erica is very simple. She is a cav unit, and right now controlling the center of the map is such a large deal and pretty much determines who can win the game often, and she can't get past those trenches. So that is really the only thing keeping Erica from being probably like top tier in this position, and I would probably give Carla and Alm the edge over her, just simply because of her mobility. Okay, so next let's talk about people who can replace Atri. So we have Ascended Joshua. Ascended Joshua is amazing. You can get that pre-charged special on him because he has the cooldown in his weapon, which means you can have like a pre-charged lethality, you can have a pre-charged AoE, and he can do some serious damage. The other thing amazing about him is that he can get the true damage if you're at that intercardinal, or if you are in a cardinal direction, you can take care of those vantage units or those other annoying units who are difficult to deal with, like Fallen Elgard. He can essentially run a build where he can hit Elgard and then trigger the lethality on the second hit so that he ignores her damage reduction and destroys her. That's definitely a possibility. Yuri, obviously, Yuri's amazing. He has the 3 movement, he has the Canto, so he can definitely extend the range even farther than Atri can, and he can back up, unlike Atri. The only problem with Yuri I've found is that he needs to run 2 different builds. So you want an AoE build to deal with the Ascended Fjorms, because she has that low defense technically, so you can smash her and really destroy her. But then you want lethality for other options, like you want lethality for like Hector and stuff like that, for like Brave Edelgard, all kinds of units. So it's kind of like the problem with him is that he can't cover everything with one build. You really want two different types of builds. Maybe if yours is just more invested, then maybe you can pull it off. He's definitely a very good option for this. Then we have Lysithea and Lilina. So Lysithea and Lilina both have advantages. Lysithea obviously can have that Brave effect, which can allow her to get that second hit in after the Hardy Bearing special has been procced, allowing her to destroy some things. Very powerful unit. Problem, once again, trenches in the middle. Keeps her from being able to just destroy things properly and to properly threaten the people she needs to. Also, she doesn't have Kanto, so once again, she can go in and kill things, but often she'll get traded and then you are down a unit. With Atri, you can trade, or you can kill a unit and then back up and not even have to make a trade, and it's very, very powerful. Lilina has a different effect. Obviously, she's running the AoE special. Problem is that sometimes she can miss the kill even with the AoE special, and that can be problematic. She's also a Cav, so once again, the trenches. But she does have the advantage of having Hardy Bearing built into her weapon, so it can allow her to deal with anyone who's trying to run those Vantage strategies. So she definitely is powerful, and she definitely can fulfill that role, especially if you have a very invested Lilina. Next, we have Euler, and Euler is pretty powerful. Euler can definitely fulfill this role too. She has a lot of power, and her double hit can allow her to get through some of those Hardy Fighter specials. So she's definitely an option as well. She does not have the Kanto though, so once again, you're in that position where you might have to sack your unit to take out some of those immediate threats. And I just feel like Atri is more versatile in that role. Two other options you have for the nuke spot is you have female Legendary Byleth, who is the bonus unit right now. She can definitely do some damage. The problem with her is that she doesn't have her special pre-charged, which can be pretty annoying to deal with. Though sometimes it can help you because she does have the anti-guard effect, so she can hit and then get rid of that first initial like damage reduction, and then she can hit with her Ruptured Sky. So she's not bad. She has the teleporting too, which is pretty good, but I'm not the biggest fan of her, to be honest. She's pretty good though. She's pretty decent. I think that male Byleth is a bit better. Sublime Heaven is absolutely stupid. It can ignore that damage reduction. It can just destroy things super hard. He can run the Windsweep build as well. The only big problem is that when you run into a unit who can survive that first engagement, he doesn't really do much, right? If he can't blow up the far save tank, then he's failed at his job, and he doesn't have Kanto to back up to be safe. So he can't really like poke anyone. He just goes in and kills, and hopefully, you know, he actually kills the far save tank. Okay, next for the save options. So there are two that I want to talk about. First, let's start with Brave Edelgard. And Brave Edelgard can be extremely powerful. She has that damage reduction against the second hit. The problem really with Brave Edelgard is Brave units, right? So any unit who has a double hit on her, because of the way her preference B skill works, she's going to take full damage from the first two hits. And because this takes up her B slot, she can't run Hardy Fighter and run that like Aegis build to prevent herself from getting blown up. And so that's the real problem I have with her. But then we have Halloween Myr. And Halloween Myr is the save unit that the top tier players are using. She's extremely powerful. This is not the build you run. You run a Hardy Fighter build. You run Distant Stance in the A slot to get the extra resistance. You run Far Save, and then you run Deflect Magic right here. And what that does essentially is that it allows her to take those hits from magic units. She has the same effect that Brave Edelgard has in her weapon, where she reduces the damage from follow-up attacks. So all you really need to do is make sure she's not dying on that second hit. And what I mean by that is from Brave units, not from follow-up attacks. Because that first hit, you're going to have the Aegis. The Aegis is going to absorb almost all of that first hit, and the second hit from the Brave weapon is what you need to survive. After that, her weapon is going to completely just reduce the damage from all other attacks. The other amazing thing about Halloween Myr is that she is a dragon, and her being a dragon means that she is immune to wind sweep effects. You have to run like a fire sweep effect or water sweep, which is not seen in the meta at all at the moment. So she completely nullifies that, which is amazing. She's also extremely bulky. This is a +2 Myr. Obviously, I have max flowers here, but she's extremely bulky, and she can take so many hits. She also targets resistance, which is super useful and can allow her to deal with so many of those frontline units. And you can really push her into the enemy team and just completely push them out of the capture box. She's an amazing unit. I would love to actually put a build on her, but I don't really want to sacrifice an Ascendant Form just yet for her, but it might come to that because she's obviously very good. Oh, the other thing that makes her extremely good, she is red. The meta is so green dominant right now with all of these powerful green units coming out like Duo Dagr, Atri, Dancer Azura, Duo Corrin. She has color advantage over all of them, and that's a big deal. Okay, lastly, we have the replacement for the Dancers. So Legendary Azura is pretty much, she's very similar to Duo Azura. She has the +6 to all stats. Typically, it would be +5 because you're running Earth Dance. And you can technically HP stack her. She does have very low HP though. Look at this, 40 +5 and she's at 35. But if you give her like Summoner support and some HP skills, she can run like a Panic build or even Pulse Die build. So she can definitely do it. As long as you properly position Duo Dagr in her opening, she can have the 3 movement thanks to the innate Pathfinder and Duo Dagr's weapon to get into position like Duo Azura can. And the best thing about her though is that she can step onto those tree tiles and those trench tiles and actually get better options for dancing. So I think Legendary Azura is actually really solid in that position, probably the second best option. After that we have Duo Peony, and Duo Peony does not give as many buffs obviously. She only gives the +3 instead of the +5 or +6, but she does offer a buttload of attack in her weapon, and she also has Joint Drive attack, which is a lot of buff. She has a little bit more HP, so you could HP stack her if you really want to. If you have a highly invested Duo Peony, that's an option. And her major advantage, obviously, is going to be her Duo skill, which will allow her to give another action to one of your units as long as they're adjacent. So that's definitely an option as well. Next, we have Sigurd, and I don't think Sigurd's all that great here. He does have the 3 movement, which is nice, but he doesn't really offer much more than that. You can build him HP stacking like all the other dancers to kind of fulfill that role, but I don't think he's really amazing other than that. He doesn't really offer anything like Azura with the buffs or Peony with the buffs and the extra action. And then lastly, you can use a budget Nils if you want to. And Nils just has that super high natural HP, so he is going to be one of the best pulse tires. He comes with even pulse tie as well, which means you don't have to fodder it, which is super nice. But other than that, he doesn't do much more. So that is a budget option though if you want to try that. The strategy is very powerful, but it is not unbeatable. There are definitely ways to deal with it. More experienced players are going to be able to handle that opening and figure out a way to deal with your team. So it does come down to experience, it does come down to practice, it does come down to your ability to use the team well, but this strategy does give you a major advantage and is very versatile, which is its biggest selling point, to be honest. Versatility allows you to really deal with different types of teams, and hopefully I gave you some good examples of team substitutes, though there are many other. You can definitely figure out what units you have and how to fit them into this archetype of a team, so don't feel like you need to use the same units that I'm using. I know that a lot of people hate Summoner Duels, don't want to play it at all, and I completely understand that. It is definitely a whale territory game mode, but I do think there is some fun here, and I do think it is a good chance to make some community activities that we could play together, which is always amazing. They definitely needs more ways for the community to interact, so I think this could be one of them. While Summoner Duels ranked I think is still stupid, and I think Summoner Duels just the base form without all the competition is better, we are getting Summoner Duels S, and I think this addresses some of the major problems with Summoner Duels ranked, which is that you can just get hard countered. The veto system does allow you to kind of like remove some of that, so I think that maybe we might have a chance at a good game mode coming up. We'll have to wait and see for when it gets released, but I'm going to choose to be positive and hope for the best. Lastly, I want to say this is not like an original strategy. I'm not the only person who thought of this. There's a lot of people using this strategy. A lot of the top tier players are using this strategy, and I saw this, and that's why I started trying to adapt my own version of it. Also, I'd like to give a massive thank you again to Joel from Fehology, who sat there and talked to me on Discord for hours about how we could adapt the strategy, how we could figure out what units to use and how to counter pick so many of the common meta threats. Definitely make sure to go check out the Fehology channel and all of their content. They are definitely putting out some great Summoner Duels content, and I'll catch everyone later with more Fire Emblem Heroes. See you then. Bye.